Good morning. This week's Parsha is Zibel Parsha by Cal Day, and it's the end of the book of Exodus. We finish up the book of Exodus. What this Parsha is talking about is the final building of the Tabernacle and all the donations that were given. We should know that Moses was very careful when accounting these donations. He knew that it was not his money, it was public money, and he knew that he had to be very careful in how he approached this. He did it through total transparency, uh, that everybody could see what he was doing. He did it publicly so that he would not even be accused of stealing. He also made sure that he had no pockets and no purses or whatever near him, so that people could see that he would not even be accused of taking the money. One of the banes of many organizations is that the person in charge of the money sometimes is not so careful. Uh, that and some of these people might be good. They might be a business guy, he's having difficulty in business. He feels, okay, let me borrow some money from the till, I'll pay it back. But then one thing leads to another, he forgets or something like that. He's not a bad person, but he falls into this trap of taking money from the till. And it's a very big problem. We see this all over. We see it in many organizations. So Moses is laying clearly out to us that when you're in charge of public monies, you have to be as transparent as possible. And when there is corruption somehow involved, that the money is not going to where it's being directed, i.e., example, the government is supporting child care centers in Minnesota, and they discover there are no children going to these child care centers. And then suddenly we realize that there's something like $8 billion, $10 billion disappearing that are being stolen from the public. This is worse than stealing from a person. These are monies that were given in for a specific purpose. They're public monies. It's not private. If you're running a business and you take money from the till of your business, that's your problem. But that's private. When it's public money, you have to be super careful. Um, and one of the most famous examples of somebody who refused to take public money was Truman, President Truman. It's a very famous story that he wrote a letter. Somebody wrote a column about how bad his daughter was at playing the piano. So he wrote a letter to this fellow, very nasty letter, defending his daughter, but he made sure that he did not use the presidential franking powers. The president can send out letters on the public, that we give him that right, but he used his own stamp to send the letter because he felt this is private. This is not President Truman speaking as president, but it's President Truman speaking as Harry S. Truman, the father of Margaret Truman. So it's very interesting that he was that careful with public money, that even a 5-cent stamp he would not take from the government because it was private, not public. And that's how we have to approach these things. Like I said, if it's your money, you can do with it as you will, so to speak. You can take money from here, put it there, etc. But when it's public money designated for a purpose, it has to go to that purpose. And that's why the Torah is very clear of how Moshe behaved towards this public money. Something to think about.